Hey guys, this is Ty and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be going over how to set your suspension front and rear on your new Harley Davidson Sportster S. Stick around. Well, I am by no means an expert when it comes to motorcycle suspension, but I have read over and studied the Harley Davidson owner's manual for the Sportster S, and that's the detail that we're going to be going over today. Okay, before we get started in this video, there's a couple of terms that we're going to need to define, so let's do that now. And the first one we're going to look at is damping. Damping affects how easily the suspension can move and then limits that movement once it's begun. Compression, pretty self-explanatory here. When the suspension is compressed, that's what we're talking about, thinking about going over a bump in the road. And then there's rebound. Rebound is when the suspension is moving back in place from being compressed. And then there's one you'll probably hear about a lot in this video, and that's preload. Preload is an adjustment made to the front and rear suspension to limit vehicle and rider sag. And also, before we get started, there's a couple of things that you're going to need. Number one is to make sure that your tires are properly inflated. You're also going to need access to kind of a familiar bumpy road so you can test out what settings you make. And also you want your preload adjusted properly. We'll go over how to do that as well. Keep in mind that there are 3 different adjustments that we are going to make for the suspension of the Sportster S. The first one is the rebound adjustment. The second one is the compression adjustment. And the third is the preload adjustment. We'll start by looking at the rebound adjustment now. Okay, I'm going to start with a wide shot and then zoom in so you guys will know where this is at. But where we're going to start is the rebound adjuster, and the rebound adjuster is marked as 10 and is on the lower left side of the shock absorber. So I'm going to try to zoom in here, show you exactly where that's at. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it is right here. Let me get some more light. All right, if you guys are able to see that rebound adjuster right there where the end of my screwdriver is at. And what the instructions say is to turn all the way to the H for the maximum setting. So there's H and S, so this should be the maximum setting. So what you want to do is just put the screwdriver in there and just give it a little turn to set it to the maximum setting, or H. They've got that listed as hard. I guess so the shock is a little more rigid. So right there is as far as it's going to go. Now, even though I have this set all the way to the H setting of the hard, the rigid setting that Harley recommends when you're testing this out, I actually like how my Sportster S rides, so I'm going to adjust that back to where it was. Now, in the Harley Davidson owner's manual, they do have kind of a troubleshooting guide that if your bike runs a little rigid or if it feels like it's pogoing, they have some recommendations in the owner's manual of what exactly to do with these settings. But I'm going to turn mine right about there to where it was and leave it right there. All right, next up we're going to take a look at the compression damping adjustment. And remember, compression is when the shocks are compressed. If you think of, again, going over a bump. But before we get to that adjustment, we've got to remove this left side plate here. So let me walk us through that. All right, this is quite simple, to be honest with you. It's just a matter of using the key. One quick turn, a little wiggle here and there, and it should just pop right off. Okay, in order to find the compression damping adjuster, I'm gonna start with this wide shot just like last time and try to go into exactly where you guys are gonna be able to see it. So let me get correctly zoomed in here. All right, at this point I'm zoomed in pretty tight on there to show you where that compression adjuster is. Now I'm slowly gonna back out so you'll have a visual representation of where that's at if you're trying to find it on your Sportster S. That's probably the way to go. So now I'm going to get my flathead screwdriver and line this up to make that adjustment. Now hopefully this helps. If you guys can see this little black rectangle plastic piece here. I have found that if you put your flathead screwdriver right through there, you can make those adjustments. So right now, I'm going to follow Harley's recommendation and turn mine all the way to the H side. We should be all set. And I'll pan back on that so you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. And hopefully that'll help you find that setting, because it is small and pretty tiny back there. All right, guys, if you don't mind if I jump in here real quick. So far, if you're enjoying this video, or if you enjoy any of the content of the channel, if you would, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. That would just be fantastic. I'm working hard to reach 2,000 subscribers and could use your help. Thank you. All right, next up is the third and final one for the rear shock on the Sportster S, and that's preload. So preload is a setting for rider and vehicle sag, or to prevent rider and vehicle sag. Now, in Harley's owner's manual, they have a great chart in there. So by weight, it tells you exactly how to set the preload for the rear shock, but we're going to be doing that right now. Now, I went ahead and left off the left side cover here, but what Harley says, you can see this knob back here. This is for the preload on the rear shock. Harley says to turn that all the way over to low. So we're just going to do that right now. Okay, so it's not going to turn left anymore. And then based off of Harley's chart, what they say for weight, and since I'm not going to have any type of passenger, then I just have to worry about myself, I'm going to set this to the number of clicks that Harley Davidson recommends. So let's do that now. Once you reach that number, you're all set. You can put the cover back on. Okay, now we're going to move to the front of the motorcycle on the front forks on the Sportster S. So right here on this piece, the front right, you can do preload as well as compression. So Harley's owner's manual says to turn this clockwise as far as you can for the maximum compression settings, and then you can adjust it from there. And also on the left side, you'll see there is for the rebound setting. Harley also recommends to do the same way in their owner's manual. Turn it all the way clockwise and then adjust your ride settings counterclockwise based off your needs and requirements. Now, with each of these, you can also do preload. You can see the top here. And what Harley says is to turn this counterclockwise as far as it'll go, and then make adjustments based off the weight of the rider and passenger. In my case, it'll be rider. And you can make those adjustments. And in the owner's manual, they've got a great step-by-step chart. So we'll make a few of those adjustments right now. So if you're interested in this topic, I hope you found this helpful. A little bit of information to get you started. I would highly recommend that you consult Harley Davidson's owner's manual and follow their specifications and instructions, much more so than you would mine. So check that owner's manual. Also, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel for more Sportster S related content. I hope you guys have an excellent day, and we'll talk to you again soon.